What is up, everybody? It is Kyle from the Offsetting Opinions channel. And today, with everything that's going on, we could talk about the NFL free agency, which I do plan on getting to when some more dominoes fall. I could talk about the Screw movie that I just saw and my feedback on that. However, I'm waiting to have a little bit more editing, being a little bit more professional with my editing before I kind of go down some of those roads. But today, I really want to talk about like self-empowerment and really if you're somebody who like myself over the last, let's say, 5 years, I've really been working on myself, growing some skill sets, trying to empower myself to better my life, better my family's life, better my financial situation, better my family's health, and just really have an overall better quality of life. And in order to do that, I'm going to kind of break down what it took from me to self-empower myself into creating a better life for myself. And part of it was mindset, right? We'll talk a little bit about mindset. I want to talk a little bit about your social groups and how that impacts some of the things that you do in your day-to-day life and how they can impact your outlook. And also, I want to talk about maybe some of your more day-to-day stuff, like what's your routine like? Do you have a schedule? What are your motivations? So let's just start with, I guess, like my journey and the mentality that I've had over the years. So post high school, now I wanted to get my education. I really wanted to, I think I didn't have a direction in life. I just wanted a lot of life experiences. So a lot of what I did in my late teens and even into my 20s, my mentality was just try to get a lot of life experiences. I felt a little sheltered in my high school and middle school and even as a kid. And I did a lot of sports and I did have a lot of social groups that I kind of fell into. I was friends with a lot of different people. I was friends with jocks. I was friends with nerds and musicians, like people in the music. I just struck a conversation with everybody and tried to be a good person to everybody and not really bully anybody. I was never really mean to anybody. And I was really just a curious mind. And I think that even protrudes into this channel is just I'm a curious mind trying to understand all perspectives, having an open mind. After high school, I really wanted to kind of explore myself, explore some of what the experiences that I never got to have in school. A lot of my life, I limited myself on like risk reward, right? So I didn't really want to get into any situations where the risk was too high and the reward wasn't worth the risk. And even still to this day, I kind of live my life a little bit more closer to the chest as far as risk reward goes. I don't want to put my family in a situation where we're homeless. But getting back to like post high school, I did a lot of partying. I wanted to go out and be a part of a lot of different social gatherings and just be involved with people and find friends in social groups. And hindsight, many of those people that I fell into and a lot of my journey throughout the years, I'm not even really friends with a lot of those people anymore. And I don't even really have a lot of communication with them. It wasn't for a lack of effort. I don't feel like I've ever wronged anybody. I just maybe I was a strong personality, very opinionated, and I still to this day can be very opinionated. And maybe that rubbed people the wrong way. And I'm self-aware in that and I acknowledge that. But I'm one of those people where I don't like to have a filter. I'm going to say what's on my mind. And sometimes I need to say things that need to be said. And I don't apologize for that. But getting back to like the mentality. So like in my 20s, my mentality was just having fun. And it brought on a lot of strong personalities who really didn't have my best interest at heart. There are some people I work with that encouraged negative behaviors. And when you fall into some of those behaviors within those social groups that you kind of seek out and be a part of, you kind of see the red flags, and then you don't really want to be that person. And you kind of like Homer Simpson back into the bushes kind of thing. And then you try to find a different social group. And that's kind of what I did a lot in my 20s, especially like in colleges. You try to find new social groups, and then, you're kind of like trial and error. You try to find people that are like-minded who have similar interests and have similar characteristics to you, so you can have your fun within your social groups. And I did a lot of that throughout my 20s. I would say all the way up through like 25, 26 years old is where I really started to dial it in. And then my focus kind of shift from like having fun, having those life experiences. And I gave myself a good 7-8 years of just like really exploring and going out and being part of a lot of different social communities and going to concerts and having a lot of fun and getting those life experiences. I think it was good that I had those life experiences, but it didn't really set me up for the future and for like financial stability or putting myself in a position to where like when I met somebody, like there's a foundation there. When I met my wife, we really had to start with a foundation. We had to kind of build from the ground up when we met, and we knew we wanted to have a life together. I think we were both in the same situation when we met each other. My wife, she has a big heart, and she would give people the shirt off her back. She was by herself, basically living on her own since she's been 15, 16 years old. And I don't think she really understood financial freedom. I think she worked just to pay her bills. And I was kind of the same way. I mean, granted, I did have a side hobby that allowed me to make a little bit of money here and there when I was playing ball. And I went to these tournaments, and you win a tournament and it's a little bit more extra cash that you have in your pocket. But more, I just kind of put that toward like, hey, we won, let's go out and have drinks. And you just like spend a stupid amount of money on drinks and things like that. And it just kind of enabled that lifestyle that I had back then. And then I met my wife, and we had a kind of like, oh, Jesus, if we're going to have a family, and if we're going to, start something, and we have to start with a foundation, we have to get into a mentality of, we need to start saving. We need to start, creating a foundation. We want to live in a house. We want to have a kid. Like, you have to start like putting yourself in the space of, I need to start saving money. And it's this whole mentality thing is you have to like, especially like when you're having a kid, right? You have to be like, I want to be a good dad. And then you start researching and you start like understanding what a good parent is, or what a good husband is, or whatever it is that you're trying to do and put your energy towards, that you're determined to be in your life. You have to take the steps and get yourself into the mental space, do a little bit of research, and find out the avenues on how you can accomplish that goal. So me not wanting to be a loser my whole life and just someone who partied, I didn't want those life experiences, and I don't regret anything that I did. The only regret is I didn't save a little bit more money, but that is what it is. I'm thankful for the experiences that I had. So I really got into a career about 25, 26 years old. I started, with Verizon, selling cell phones. I've done car sales. I've done boat sales. I've done, finance stuff. I went to school wanted to be an entrepreneur. Again, entrepreneur is a big risk. And knowing what I know about myself, I like to eliminate that risk. And the second half of that is you also need to make sure you have some capital in order to kind of start a business. So it's still something I'd like to pursue, maybe a little bit further down the line when I get a little bit more capital and my family's in a good spot and we have the means to do it. But for now, I'm kind of eliminating that risk. Again, it's this self-empowerment. For me, it's about assessing risk. It's about experiences. It's about finding out what you want to be, what you want to do. And I think in order for us to accomplish that, we need to have some experiences, seek out some different things that, life experiences, or, be a part of different social groups, or research different careers, or if we want to be a parent, whatever avenue you're trying to go down, you have to at least explore the idea to kind of connect the vision and accomplish the goal that you're trying to accomplish, or be the thing that you want to be. So for me, I wanted to be a good husband, a good father, and I wanted to provide no matter what I needed to do. And I found some avenues that put me in a situation where I have the financial freedom. It allowed me to spend time with my family, and it allowed me to still explore the world, take some PTO and go to Disney, or go to, back to home to New York to visit some of my social groups that I still keep in touch with there, or visit family, or whatever the situation is. Again, I think the mindset component of it leads into like, what are your motivations? The mindset of, I want to be prosperous in my career. Well, how do you do that? You have to break that down. Well, I need to find a career that I'm going to like. I'm going to try and find a job that I enjoy. I want to find a company that aligns with my values. I want to make sure that I put 100% of my time and effort into my work to make sure, I get a return on my investment. When those raises come around, I can show my work ethic, all that stuff. So again, that's where mindset bleeds into it, because if you're focused on career, or you're focused on being a good father, or you're focused on being a husband, or whatever your career aspirations are, or your life aspirations are, you really need to seek out the information. Again, I'm sure I know I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but it's really important that your mindset aligns with whatever your motivations are and the information that you're seeking. Your social groups. So went from mentality, right, to some social groups. And I kind of talked about that a little bit in some of the previous dialogue. Is, okay, well, who's the people that you surround yourself with? Once you find like some of those red flags in those social groups, if you find that there's people there that you're not really fond of, or you just have this bad energy or bad vibe with, I kind of Homer Simpson. So I always wanted to be a good person. I always wanted to surround myself with people who minimize risk. And what I mean by that is, if I'm out in a social group, in a social setting, we're out at a bar, or we're out, at a movie, or at an amusement park, or wherever we're at, that there's not ever going to be a situation, right? So we all know there's people out there that are instigators. They, see somebody and they try to instigate some sort of situation. And then next thing you know, since you're involved with that person, that situation escalates into something that it probably shouldn't have been in the first place. And now you're caught in this uncomfortableness because this other person started something. And I always tried to avoid those people. Like once that person put me in a situation, I'm like, dude, I'm out. I'm done. See ya. Like we don't align in life. I am very live and let live. You live your life over there. I live my life over here. We know each other from this social group, but now I'm going to remove myself from the social group because I don't align with whatever's going on here. And so that's where you have to determine your values. Like, is that somebody that you want to be involved with? Is that somebody that you want to learn from? Because when you surround yourself with people who display some of those behaviors, you have to, like, you kind of take on some of those behaviors. You kind of see that it's socially acceptable to be that person, and it's kind of reinforced by the social group that you're in. And I think it's important to note that if you see those behaviors and you have this bad feeling, like there's this bad vibe, and you continue to go down that path, you kind of become numb to that kind of that, I guess, your intuition in that situation. And maybe you take on some of those characteristics and become the person that you don't want to become. And I did fall victim into that a little bit. I don't want to say I full bored it. I did take on some characteristics unknowingly. And once I gave myself some self-awareness on what I was doing, like, oh my God, like I got that from the social group. I kind of removed myself from them and I moved on with my life. And it took me moving 1,500 miles away to give myself perspective on the person that I was and the person that I wanted to be. Once you remove yourself from all of your social groups, do some self-reflecting, and give yourself a purpose and give yourself some sort of like, okay, I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to grow and evolve into somebody different. You have to determine what your values are. You have to determine the people that you want to surround yourself with. And I found some people here that I wish I was closer with, but because of my work and because of the family time, and some of those people have similar interests as me. So like we play volleyball, and some people I play video games with. And some people we just are just good people that share common values as me. And those are people that I want to seek out relationships with and have friendships with and have that, come on over this weekend. Let's have a couple beers and play some yard games or some board games or whatever. I do need to be building my community better in this space as well. I'm just trying to take some time to figure out what I want this to be, how to edit a little bit better, just so I can kind of be a little bit more proficient, be a little bit more appealing to the masses. But the goal is always going to be the same, right? I need to, like, my self-empowerment is to try to be good, put good out in the world, have a channel that helps with self-empowerment, and have a channel that people who are like-minded can flood to and really follow me on this journey of self-empowerment, as well as trying to put good back out in the world and see the world through a different lens. So removing myself from those social groups and the people that I didn't want to align myself with, it gave me the perspective that I needed. And it was a very slow and gradual change because old habits die hard. When you see somebody that displays some of the behaviors of that old social group, sometimes that stuff seeps back in. And then you have to be like, oh my God, why am I doing that again? Like I'm surrounding myself with another person that I didn't want to be around. And then you have to kind of like cold turkey and just be like, okay, now I got to go find somebody else because they're displaying some of the behaviors that I was trying to get away from. And I do want to be a better person. So I need to surround myself with the kind of people that I aspire to be like. So I think there's validity to that. I've said it on this channel once before, but my favorite saying is surround yourself with like-minded people who empower you, right? Find yourself people who you want to be like. Let's just say you look up to somebody and they display the behaviors that you want to be. They're good people. They put good back out into the world. And those people that give you guidance, those are the people that they want to see you succeed. And those are the people you need to surround yourself with. I'm trying to find people that I can give my information and how I became successful to within groups and communities that I'm in. But there's so many toxic people in, some of my old spacings, some of these new spacings, and people like you're trying to open their eyes to some of the toxicity that they have. And they're just a little naive to the fact and not self-aware. And maybe one day they'll get it. And I'm not saying that everyone's a lost cause. It's just tough because, you've been in those situations and you try to give guidance to people and try to give back like someone gave back to me. But the thing is, they have to be looking for that mentor kind of person. And, it's tough finding that, especially in the spaces that I'm in and just moving to a new city and finding new groups and communities of people that I want to give some of my life lessons to. So again, that's kind of we talked about mentality, then we talked about the social groups. Let's talk a little bit about what motivates you. So if you have a family, your family should be your motivation. That the reason we have a family is to like everything that I am as a man and as a dad and as a husband, I am trying to build a better life for my family. I'm trying to provide them with some of the nicer things in life and to have financial freedom and to be able to take trips and do things like that. That's my motivation. Sometimes like in your 20s and before you have a family, your motivation is different. Maybe you just want to have fun. Maybe your time is valuable and you just want time freedom. Maybe you're money motivated and you're just trying to create a foundation for yourself. Whatever your motivation is, you kind of have to find it and determine what that motivation is, and then align your goals with that motivation. So if it's money, you should be working, you should be seeking out, you should be working yourself. I don't want to say to death, but take on a full-time job and a part-time job. Maybe be an Uber driver on the side with your whatever your career that you want it to be is, or maybe create a platform for yourself and dump some of the money that you're making from your job into that and see if you can grow a community. Whatever, have your hobby be something that you're passionate about, and have your job be something that makes you the money to funnel into your hobby. That's one thing I wish I did a little bit more of is when I was younger, I wish I would have taken a lot of money and just thrown it away. And that way I could have tried making my own business and creating my own space. But I decided I wanted life experiences first. So I went that route. And now I'm creating capital for myself. I have a house, a mortgage, and things like that. It's tough to break away from that. Eventually, maybe I will. But my motivation right now is to just provide for my family. I have a good job with a company that aligns with my values and allows me to have a little bit more entrepreneur mindset. And then going into your mentality helps you find your motivation, because whatever your motivation is, that's what you're going to put your time and energy towards, right? But you need to you can't be lazy about it. You have to really apply yourself, find avenues to make you successful. Am I passionate about this? No, but I'm passionate about being a good person, putting good out in the world. And this is an avenue for that. So I'm trying to put a lot of time and effort into understanding how I can edit and grow my channel and market myself, which marketing is a pretty good passion of mine just because you create relationships. It feels like you can give back to the community and be a part of some cool events that are empowering. Going to a space where I can give back to a bunch of kids who are suffering, it makes you kind of feel all warm and fuzzy inside. And it feels like you're doing some good for humanity and giving these kids like a good day. And I feel like, that's just one example, but that's the kind of thing that I'm chasing, is putting good back out in the world and impacting my community directly. And then with this, I'm trying to find a community of people who are like-minded as me, who want to go on this journey with me, because I feel like I have a lot to offer. I have a lot of different life experiences. Like I said, back in my 20s, I had those life experiences. And then now I'm trying to give back to people who are seeking guidance, who are looking for an avenue, who want to be a good person, who maybe want financial advice or maybe wants advice about their community of people and being a better person, or advice about whatever the situation is. I just want to be the person. Like I'm getting close to middle age, and I feel like across all of history, a lot of people looked up to government officials and things like that to kind of display the behaviors. I want to be a person who can influence people in a positive way. I want to give back to the communities of people and show people the right behaviors to be a good person and to try to get society back to where I think we're more civil. Because let's be honest, like, especially with the times we're now with social media and with everything going on in the world, I think we as people need to come together more and really eliminate a lot of the toxicity and calling out behaviors, especially behaviors of influencers. I feel like the more I'm on the internet, the more I see and it might be my algorithm, but a lot of people seek out the negatives in the world. And I just want to be a beacon of positivity for people to kind of latch onto and to give them a roadmap and how I became this person who wants to put good back out in the world. Maybe find some people who aspire to be like me. I don't want nobody to be me. I want you to be your own version of yourself. But being a better person, that is what I aspire to be, and to put good back out in the world and to be the example that you want to see in the world. And that's what I feel like my life's purpose is to try to provide for my family, because you need to provide for your family. And then the thing that I want to do with my life is to try to put good back out in the world and try to be the example on what a human being should be. And it's so, for me, it's draining your energy and distracting you from the motivations that you want to do in life. So you get sucked up into these worlds where you feel like you have to have an opinion. And my goal is to let people know, like, you can still be informed while also empowering yourself to be a better person. So you have to balance your time a little bit more. You have to make sure that you don't get so engulfed into these communities of people who might not have your best interest at heart, and to find your motivation on what you want to do in life. Maybe some of that might be humanitarian work. Maybe it might be giving yourself to a political party, and that's your prerogative. I might question why you want to give yourself to a political party, but if that's your motivations, who am I to determine, right? I just asked, no one becomes toxic. I just asked, no one becomes hateful. No one becomes violent, rather. And I just ask that you be a decent human being in the meantime, like while you're doing whatever that you're doing. And I think that goes back to, the mentality thing, your social groups, your mindset, and like all your motivations and everything like that. And then the last thing I want to talk about is your routine. So a lot of what you do in life, like how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you're going to be lazy at home, not clean up after yourself, you're not going to take a shower, you have bad hygiene, that's going to translate over into everything else, every other aspect of your life. If you want to be a YouTuber, but you literally can't clean up after yourself, well, you're lazy. You don't have the hygiene. You don't want to self-care. People are going to acknowledge that, and you're not going to maybe apply yourself and be motivated enough to find the information. That's just one example. But again, how you do anything is how you do everything. You could, if you're one of those people who wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, you spend an hour at the gym, you come home, you shower, you make breakfast, you get your kids ready for school, and then you go to work, and then you work your 8 hours, you come home, you spend some time with your family, you do a little bit for yourself, maybe you watch a TV show with your wife, and then you go to bed and you do it all again the next day. You have a routine. I find people who have routines and stick to a schedule and can balance their time, they tend to be a little bit more successful in life. And I'm trying to find a routine myself. And that's what makes this hard, is because you have to find the time and set aside the time for yourself to do the hobbies that you want to do, to empower yourself to chase that dream that you have. And it's tougher the older you get, because especially when you have a family, when you have a wife, you have a kid, especially a kid that you got to take to school and pick up from school. And then now he's starting hobbies, like maybe he's getting into baseball and football practice and things like that. That takes time away from the things that you want to do. So the older you get, I will say, and it's words I wish I heard and had resonate with me when I was younger. It is incredibly hard the older you get. Maybe when my kid gets out of high school and maybe I can get some of that time back. But right now I'm kind of strapped, and it's only going to get worse. And I am trying to dedicate my time into this channel and empower myself to grow that community, to give back to the world, to find people who are like-minded and to grow with me. And like I said, it's once you get into a routine and you kind of figure out and have your time management down, that's where you're going to start dedicating more time for yourself. You're going to start dedicating more time to whatever your motivations are, whatever your hobbies that you want to make a lifestyle out of. You can have time set aside for that purpose. So when I'm at work, everything stays at home. My problems stay at home. The only thing that might creep in is if something happens at my kid's school, and like some of that stuff, I'm a father first, I'm an employee second. So my family will always come first. But when I'm at my job, it is 100% my job. Since I'm management, I have to be aware of what's going on in the store. So even now, you might be hearing my phone ding. Some people are trying to get a hold of me for XYZ. And if it's important, they call. If it's something they just want me to be aware of, they text. So knowing that it's a text message, I'm good. But moving forward, once you find the routine right, if health is important to you, you need to find time to set aside for you to go to the gym and meal prep and go to the store and buy some of those fruits and vegetables and good meals instead of just trying to eat out all the time. Again, you have to do the research on, if you're trying to be a health nut, you have to do the research and maybe hire somebody that'll help you, like a nutritionist or maybe like a bodybuilder, that will help you with some of those avenues, or, seek out the information. If you're trying to grow your career and you're focused on your career, so whatever your company with, you want to grow with that company, you really need to perfect your craft in your current position. And then once you perfect your craft, you start turning your attention over to that next avenue of like, okay, what does that next promotion look like? Maybe I can start taking on a little extra work. And then again, you have to seek out the knowledge that'll help empower you to be a better employee, or to, like, again, whatever your hobbies or interests are. So that's your work aspect. But if you have a hobby that you want to turn into a career or maybe make a business or something like that, when you're at work, you have to dedicate that time for your job. Like that's how it has to be. And the second you're off the clock or the store is closed, if you're management and you're kind of always on call, that's when you can dedicate that time into researching and growing your brand and your business, or having that side hobby and seeking out more information, or being a good dad, or like I said, whatever your motivation and interests are. But you have to dedicate the time while you're there to be successful at that one thing. If you're so engulfed in everything else, so let's just say if you're at work, right? And say you are a car salesman, and a lot of car salesmen, I mean, depending on the company you work for, some of like the mom and pop shops around here, I mean, you can get away with playing 6 to 8 hours of your phone a day, not take any what they call ups, but you're not going to be successful. And a lot of car dealerships just rely on bodies to be there. They don't care. There's like, hey, there's somebody out here, go take care of them kind of thing. They kind of have to like motivate people to go out and do that. Don't be that person. When you're at work, you should really focus on your work. You should perfecting your craft, seeking out knowledge, talking to every customer that you can talk to, making every deal you can possibly make, or seeking out information that's going to give you that next promotion. The most successful people are the people that take their job seriously. I mean by like work success and career success. The people that are at their work and at their job and take their job serious, leave their problems at the door, focus on the job at hand, and seek out information that'll continue to grow their skill set. Those are the people that are going to be the most successful in their field and their business. And I know this is more about self-empowerment, but a lot of people, are aspiring to be good employees and to grow their career like myself. So when I'm at work, I dedicate a lot of time into perfecting my craft, having conversations I need to have, seeking out information on those next steps, making community connections to help grow my business. There's a lot of different things that I'm doing while I'm at my job that it does take 8 to 10 hours a day of my time in order to be successful there. But here, I have a limited amount of time because the store is open from 9:30 to 8:30. So I really only have the mornings and the nights to kind of really figure out how I can edit different topics I want to talk about, what direction I want to take with the channel. And then there's the editing component of it. So I'm seeking a lot of information and I'm trying to get a return on my investment, while also producing content for everyone to kind of absorb and putting good back out in the world. So again, that's just a little bit of my journey, a little bit of my roadmap on how I became successful, my mindset, and a lot of different avenues within my life, and the approach I take into becoming a better person and growing my skill set, being a valuable member of society, and then surrounding myself with the right people that allow me to be myself and not try to make me somebody like that's a bad person. I'm not saying people in the social groups were bad people. I just didn't like the vibe that they had or some of the behaviors they displayed. So I distanced myself from some of those people. So, and again, like I said, sometimes it takes moving 1,500 miles away to give you perspective on who your friends really are, who has your best interest at heart. And then you can kind of like rebuild yourself from there, which is exactly what I'm doing and what I did. So I know this one was one I wanted to do for a while. It's a little bit more like, I feel like I'm more accomplished now. I feel like I'm getting to a point where I can put good back out into the world, and a lot of the other stuff we're calling out behaviors and politics and stuff like that. But this one was more about my journey and what I feel like we can do to empower each other and to, find some of those people who are like-minded to you, who can give you guidance in your life. And if you feel like that somebody is you and you want to follow me on this journey, and if you want tips and tricks on how to empower some of the people within your social groups, by all means, I'm here to try and guide people. That's the whole point of this, is to try and find a community of people who are like-minded, and maybe they can offer me their perspective too. I'm not closed-minded. I don't think I have it all figured out. I can learn from other people. And if there's behaviors that I display that I need to be called out about, or, if you feel like I'm using my platform for something negative, I want to be kept in check too. So, please like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I want to start doing some community stuff where I go out, give back to the community. I want to live stream some of that just to kind of put my money where my mouth is, to where I can give back to my communities, find some events that are local that I can, maybe do like a live stream on, just to kind of show some of those behaviors. The only way I can do that is by growing this channel. You have to get up to I think 100 followers before you can do any live streaming or anything like that. And I definitely aspire to do something like that. The goal is to grow the channel first. And I think having a little bit more positive message, staying away from some of the politics, staying away from politics a little bit and trying to challenge people's mindsets, I think that's coincides with the offsetting opinions, and then just kind of growing my community of people to get to that ultimate goal. So I appreciate everyone stopping by. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, and then, hit that follow button if you're on Facebook. It's going to really help me grow my community. It's really going to help me get to what my goal is, to try to put good back out in the world, to start being more involved in some more community events and give back to people in a positive way and kind of be that beacon of positivity that people can gravitate towards. So thanks again. I appreciate everyone for coming by, and have a great day.